Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. See, we live in a world where everybody wants to talk. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got something to prove. And social media, don't get me started. People are out here sharing every little detail about their lives, what they had for breakfast, what they think about the latest drama, and how they feel about things that don't even concern them. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, plans, or next move. When you talk too much about your goals, you invite opinions, doubts, and even opposition that can derail your focus. Some people don't want to see you succeed, and the moment they hear your vision, they start looking for ways to discourage you or even block your progress. Keeping things to yourself allows you to work without unnecessary pressure or interference. Silence also keeps your energy intact. When you constantly explain your dreams, you waste valuable time and energy convincing people who may never support you. Instead of talking about what you're going to do, put that energy into doing it. There's power in quietly making progress. When you finally show results, there's no need for explanations. Success speaks for itself. In business, negotiations, or even personal relationships, silence gives you control. Talking too much can reveal your weaknesses, give away your leverage, or allow others to manipulate you. The less you say, the more people wonder about your next move. It builds intrigue, commands respect, and puts you in a position of influence. People who talk less tend to be taken more seriously because their words hold weight when they finally speak. Some of the most successful people understand the value of operating in silence. They don't announce their moves, they let the results do the talking. They don't seek validation because they know that every step forward is confirmation enough. When you protect your plans with silence, you eliminate unnecessary distractions and keep your momentum strong. Instead of sharing every detail of your journey, focus on the work and let your progress make the noise. Silence isn't just about keeping secrets, it's about keeping your power. Arguments are everywhere, at work, in relationships, on social media. People feel the need to respond, defend themselves, or prove their point at all costs. But the truth is, not every argument is worth engaging in. Some people don't argue to understand, they argue to dominate, to push their own agenda, or simply to get a reaction out of you. The moment you choose silence, you take away their power. Silence is a strategic tool that forces the other person to confront themselves. When you stop responding, you shift the energy of the conversation. The other person starts to question their words, their approach, and even their purpose in the argument. They begin to wonder why they're putting in so much effort while you remain unbothered. The more they push, the more they reveal their own insecurities, frustrations, or lack of control. In moments of conflict, silence can be the difference between escalation and resolution. Many arguments don't need more words, they need space. A well-timed pause can communicate more than a heated response ever could. It shows restraint, confidence, and self-control. People who master silence in arguments don't lose control of their emotions. They don't let anger dictate their words. They don't allow themselves to be provoked into saying something they'll regret. Silence also exposes people's true intentions. If someone is only engaging with you for the sake of conflict, your lack of response will frustrate them. They will either reveal their real motives or walk away because there's nothing left to fuel the fire. This is especially true in situations where someone is trying to manipulate you, twist your words, or trap you into saying something they can use against you. When you don't respond, they lose that power. It's not about being passive or avoiding necessary conversations. It's about knowing when speaking is productive and when it's just adding to the noise. Some people argue just to be heard, not to understand. They repeat themselves, raise their voices, and refuse to listen. But when you choose silence, you remove yourself from that cycle. You maintain your dignity, your peace, and your focus. People who learn to walk away from meaningless arguments are the ones who truly win. Listening is one of the most underrated skills, yet it holds the key to wisdom, success, and stronger relationships. People often think that the one who speaks the most is the smartest in the room, but that's rarely the case. The person who listens, observes, and processes information before speaking is the one who truly understands what's going on. The less you talk, the more you learn. In every conversation, there is more being said than just words. Body language, tone, hesitation. These things tell you just as much, if not more, than what a person is actually saying. When you stay quiet and truly listen, you start to pick up on the things most people miss. You notice who is sincere and who is just trying to impress. You see who is really in control and who is just pretending to be. This kind of awareness gives you an edge in business, relationships, and life in general. When you let people talk, they will often reveal more than they intended. They will tell you their fears, their weaknesses, and even their strategies without realizing it. The mistake most people make is jumping in too soon, trying to prove how much they know instead of allowing the other person to keep talking. Silence makes people uncomfortable, and in that discomfort, they fill the space with information that they wouldn't have shared otherwise. Listening also deepens relationships. When people feel heard, they trust you more. They open up, they respect your presence, and they see you as someone who values their thoughts. Good listeners make great leaders because they don't just respond, they understand. They don't just wait for their turn to talk, they absorb what's being said and use that knowledge wisely. Silence in a conversation isn't just about keeping your mouth shut, it's about tuning in to what's really being said. It's about reading between the lines and understanding the things that aren't spoken. The more you listen, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more power you have. Wisdom doesn't come from speaking, it comes from understanding. Life is filled with noise, constant conversations, endless notifications, and the pressure to always be engaged. Everywhere you turn, there's someone talking, something demanding your attention, and a world that never seems to slow down. But in all that chaos, the real power lies in silence. Stepping away from the noise gives you a chance to hear what truly matters. When you allow yourself to sit in silence, you create space for clarity. There's a reason why the best ideas come when you're alone, when everything is still, and when your mind isn't distracted by outside voices. Too often, people look for answers in the opinions of others, in the latest trends, or in the approval of the world. But the truth is, the answers are already within. You just have to be quiet enough to hear them. Silence is where you reconnect with yourself. It's where you reflect, reset, and refocus. So many people are exhausted, overwhelmed, and frustrated because they never take a moment to pause. They jump from one conversation to the next, one problem to the next, never giving themselves the opportunity to breathe. But when you learn to sit in silence, you regain control over your mind. You start to filter out what's important and let go of what. Peace doesn't come from fixing everything around you. It comes from mastering the ability to remain calm no matter what's happening. Silence teaches you that. It teaches you patience, discipline, and the ability to navigate life without being reactive to every little thing. When you're comfortable in silence, you stop looking for distractions to fill the void. You stop seeking validation from others. You realize that peace isn't something you find, it's something you create. Not everything needs a response, and not everything deserves your attention. There's strength in choosing when to engage and when to simply be still. The world moves fast, but that doesn't mean you have to move with it all the time. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to stop, be still, and allow silence to do its work. Respect isn't just about what you say, it's about how you carry yourself. People who command respect don't do it by talking the loudest or always trying to prove a point. They do it by knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. The more you talk, the more chances you have to say something unnecessary, something that weakens your position, or something that makes people take you less seriously. But when you choose your words carefully, people start paying attention when you do speak. There's a natural power in mystery. When you don't reveal everything about yourself, people become curious. They start wondering what you're thinking, what you know, and what your next move is. This puts you in a position of control. The moment you speak too much, you give people too much access to your mind, and once they feel like they know everything about you, the curiosity and often the respect fades. People who are always talking often come across as insecure. They feel the need to fill the silence, to explain themselves, or to prove something. But the most confident people don't do that. They understand that silence is a statement in itself. A well-placed pause can be more powerful than a long speech. A quiet presence can shift the energy in a room. A thoughtful response holds more weight than a quick reaction. In leadership, in relationships, and in everyday interactions, people respect those who are in control of their words. They respect those who listen more than they speak because they recognize that wisdom doesn't come from talking, it comes from understanding. When you speak less, your words gain value. People listen more closely. They remember what you say because they know you don't speak just to fill the air. Every time you speak, you're showing people how much discipline, confidence, and awareness you have. Speaking at the right time is an art, and knowing when to stay silent is just as important. The people who are truly in control of their lives aren't the ones doing all the talking. They're the ones choosing their words wisely. Success doesn't need an announcement. The loudest people in the room are often the ones trying to convince others of something they haven't fully achieved yet. They talk about their plans, their dreams, and their next big move, hoping to get recognition before they've put in the real work. But true success doesn't come from talking, it comes from doing. The most successful people understand that silence is their greatest ally. When you move in silence, you remove unnecessary pressure.